Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides mid-patch update video. My name is Dan, and today I'm going to be going over all the strongest champions using fresh statistics to give you the best and most accurate tier lists available. We encourage all our viewers to comment on these lists and say if you agree or disagree with our specific champion placements. There were a ton of changes made since the start of patch 9.18, and our analysts are so excited to bring you guys our latest tier list. But before we get started, I want you to click the link below in the description and check out our website, ProGuides.com. ProGuides is the best proven way to improve your rank at League of Legends, and we post guide videos like this one every single day. We've been doing a lot more advanced content recently and have onboarded even more pros and challenger players to bring you even better content. Trust me guys, you don't want to miss out on this because your friends are going to be so surprised at how you became so good at League of Legends in such a short period of time. Now, with all that being said, let's jump right into the mid-patch update. Starting with the top lane. The top lane tier list sees a couple of changes compared to the one we had at the start of the patch. Like always, in our S+ tier, we have Kled and a new member, Pantheon. When the reworked Pantheon first hit the Rift, a lot of players were struggling to find success with him because his numbers just felt really underwhelming. Since then, Pantheon's received a ton of buffs, and the most recent one on his Q's tap mechanic has increased his win rate significantly. In fact, he's actually one of the strongest champions in the game right now, and holds the highest win rate and 4th highest pick rate for top lane in Korean solo queue. Almost every professional player is jumping onto the Pantheon hype train, and you can expect him to be played a lot during the World Championships. Next up, in our S tier, we have 5 champions, who are Darius, Renekton, Mordekaiser, Vladimir, and Jax. These 5 champions remain in the S tier for our mid-patch update due to their strength in the meta. Most of these guys can win lane on their own and apply pressure on the map when needed, while also being able to hard carry games. However, one standout pick in our S tier is going to be Jax. Jax recently received buffs on his Q Leap Strike's cooldown, which has almost pushed him into the S+ tier. Due to these buffs, it meant that Jax can max E into every single matchup, which means that his dueling potential has increased by a lot. Although Jax's early game is relatively weak, he can survive lane pretty consistently and get to his Tiamat, Triforce, and Spear of Shojin power spikes very often. Once you have those 3 items, you literally become a 1v9 URF mode machine. Our analysts highly recommend you try out Jax this patch because he is insanely strong. In our A tier, we want to talk about a few notable picks who are Riven, Fiora, and Teemo. Riven recently received nerfs on her Q's cooldown, which actually dropped her win rate by 3.5%. However, like our challenger analysts predicted during the patch 9.16 rundown, Riven's win rate has been recovering and has gone up 2.5% from the initial drop. If this trend kept going, then it would be very likely that Riven's win rate would steadily increase to around 51%. But it appears that it'll skyrocket next patch because she's confirmed to receive some massive buffs and a new skin. If you want to learn all about the upcoming changes for next patch, then check out our previous video which goes over every single change coming in patch 9.19. Much like Riven, Fiora has held a very good stance in the meta, but is also confirmed to receive some massive buffs next patch. Fiora is already on the brink of making the push to S tier in patch 9.18, but it appears that she will likely go into our S+ tier if the planned buffs go through. It feels like Riot is really trying to force Fiora into the World Championships meta and are giving her buff after buff. Teemo received a few buffs in patch 9.18, and his stance in the meta has improved significantly. Having those extra shrooms really helps apply more pressure on the map, and he's been moved up into our A tier for our mid-patch update. Our analysts recommend giving him another shot in this patch if you haven't already because he feels so much better to play. Lastly, for the top lane, let's talk about Aatrox and Akali. These 2 champions received some massive nerfs this patch, which were intended to gut them from professional play. Although their win rates did drop by a sizable amount, our analysts are still keeping both of them in the low B tier and are very close to actually dropping them into the C tier. It appears that a lot of players are still playing them due to decent success in the top lane, but are still relatively weak compared to the other meta champions. Now let's jump right into the jungle. The jungle tier list sees a ton of changes compared to the one we had at the start of the patch. In our S+ tier, we have Kha'Zix, Evelynn, and welcoming back a familiar face, Nunu. Nunu received some nerfs at the start of patch 9.18, but it appears that he's almost unaffected by these changes. He's still that insanely strong tank jungler who excels at ganking and securing objectives while also having a very fast and healthy clear. If you're new to jungling or want to learn a strong but easy jungler, then we highly recommend you try out Nunu. He's a very beginner-friendly champion who's arguably the strongest jungle pick in the meta right now, so don't miss out on the freelo. Speaking of the strongest jungle picks in the meta, let's talk about Evelynn. Evelynn received some massive buffs at the start of patch 9.18, which it pretty much turned her into a must-pick or ban champion. Her win rate this patch did drop by a tiny amount, but that's mainly due to a lot of players trying her in ranked without actually taking the time to learn her. Her play rate this patch doubled, and her ban rate is currently the highest in the jungle by a large margin. Even the Evelynn mains are unhappy about these buffs because it appears they can just never get their champion in the ranked games anymore because she's always banned. Let's see what Riot does with the current state of Evelynn in the future patches, but for now, just get those bans ready. In the S tier for our mid-patch jungle tier list, we have Elise, J4, Hecarim, Lee Sin, Karthus, Kayn, and a new member, Dr. Mundo. Mundo has received some huge buffs to his kit recently, which have solidified his stance as an S tier jungler. Last patch, he was already near the top of the charts for jungle in Korean solo queue, but our analysts decided to keep him in the A tier previously because of the lack of success in the western regions like EU and NA. In patch 9.18, Mundo has jumped into the S tier because his stats in the jungle are insane for every single region. Try him out, guys, and watch your rank go up by a ton because Mundo goes where he pleases. Next up, we want to talk about some A tier picks, which are Sylas, Echo, and Jax. Sylas jungle has been a decent pick for solo queue recently, but has been extremely problematic for competitive play. For the upcoming 9.19 patch, the Riot Balance team are looking to gut Sylas from the jungle, so you should play him as much as you can this patch. Riot Games are not a big fan of a champion being playable in 3 roles, so they've decided that jungle is the one they're going to remove. RIP Sylas. Echo received some massive buffs at the start of patch 9.19, and he is extremely close to making that push into the S tier in jungle. His mana costs and damage are at a level now where he can reliably clear camps and gank lanes without using all his resources. In addition to this, Echo destroys a lot of meta junglers like Evelynn, J4, Lee Sin, Xin Zhao, Vi, and Kayn, which is just the icing on top of the sundae. Lastly, for jungle, let's talk about Jax. Like we mentioned in the top lane section, Jax recently received a cooldown buff to his Leap Strike, which has increased his win rate by a lot in the top lane. However, these buffs also helped him out a ton in the jungle as well, and a lot of players have been finding success with him in this role. The top lane has a lot of bad matchups for Jax currently, like Darius, Illaoi, Kennen, and Teemo, so it becomes hard for new Jax players to play into these matchups. Playing Jax in the jungle resolves these issues because you now farm safely into your power spikes and 1v9 games later. Now let's run it down mid. The mid lane tier lists remain pretty similar to the one that we had at the start of patch 9.18. In our S+ tier, we have Fizz, and we welcome a brand new member, Talon. Talon has always been a solid pick in the mid lane, but his recent performance in Korean solo queue has pushed him into the S+ tier for patch 9.18. Currently has even better stats than Fizz in terms of win rate and pick rate, which goes to show just how powerful he really is. His entire playstyle is perfect for solo queue because he's a champ purely built to punish enemy mistakes. Talon can gain lane priority pretty easily once he purchases his Tiamat and can use his E and mobility boots to roam around the map and make plays. In our S tier, we have Zed, Katarina, Malzahar, Ahri, Kassadin, Echo, and Syndra. These 7 champions have been in and out of the S tier for the past few patches, so none of them should come to you as a surprise. However, if you're looking for a fresh flavor of the month pick, then you should try out Echo mid. The buffs made to his W's mana cost and stun duration have really helped him out in the mid lane, and he can play the laning phase much better now. Honestly, I'm not really sure why Riot keeps insisting that Echo needs buffs, because it felt like he was completely fine without them. In our A tier, we have a few members that we need to talk about, which are Pantheon, Malphite, and Yasuo. Pantheon's win rate in the mid lane has only been increasing recently, and he's been a solid counterpick to a lot of meta mid laners like Vladimir, Sylas, Talon, LeBlanc, and Zed. However, there are a few picks in the mid lane which are really holding him back from making that push to S tier, which are Syndra, Diana, Katarina, and Ahri. Due to the amount of bad matchups that Pantheon has as a mid laner, our analysts decided to just keep him in the A tier. But if you can pick him into a favorable matchup, then you completely take over the game. Use your aggressive laning and ultimate to make plays around the map like TF, but with a more explosive playstyle. Next up, we have Malphite. Full AP Malphite mid has been tearing up the Korean ladder right now. If you can get him into a favorable matchup like Kiana or Katarina, then you can instantly win lane by just poking them out with your Q. In addition to this, Malphite is also extremely effective for low elo, and I personally know people who climbed out of gold within days after learning Malphite mid. Give this a try, it's a lot of fun and also very effective for climbing. Lastly, for the mid lane, let's talk about Yasuo. When it comes to mechanically intense champions like Yasuo, Azir, Akali, or Aurelia, they'll almost always have relatively low win rates due to their kits being so hard to play. The average solo queue player just can't play these champions to the level they're supposed to be played at, which heavily affects their statistics. However, when it comes to Yasuo, he's recently hit a 50% win rate and a 13% pick rate in solo queue, which is just insane. Yasuo is definitely on the strong side of things right now if you know what you're doing on that champion. Moving on to the AD carries. The AD carry tier list sees a couple of changes compared to the one that we had previously. In our S+ tier, we have Jinx, Kai'Sa, and a new member, Caitlyn. Caitlyn's win rate recently has been steadily increasing, and she's finally solidified her stance as an S+ tier pick. The 2 AD buff made to her kit recently doesn't seem like much at first, but it actually made a huge difference on her stance in the meta. With the extra AD, Caitlyn can do her job much more effectively, which is bullying out her opponents during the laning phase and being a strong threat during the mid game. In addition to this, she's a really good pick into a lot of AD carries right now, like Ezreal, Kai'Sa, Lucian, Vayne, and Sivir, so make sure you try and learn her. Kai'Sa received a 20% attack speed nerf at the start of patch 9.18, but it appears that our analysts were spot on and she remains in the S+ tier. Her win rate was almost unaffected due to these changes, and you'll likely see her being played a lot during the World Cup Championships meta. Kai'Sa is still an insanely strong pick in the AD carry role, who offers a lot of flexibility when it comes to items and provides a ton of damage during teamfights. In our S tier, we have Draven, Jhin, Lucian, Vayne, Ezreal, and welcoming back a new member, Saya. This one was a little bit unexpected because Saya received some of the biggest nerfs this patch. Our analysts did predict her to drop into the A tier, but it appears that she managed to make her way back into the S tier. This is surprising because her base armor was nerfed by a lot, and her ultimate cooldown is longer than Amumu or Nocturne, so it makes her a very punishable champion. We'll see if she's still picked in the World Championships, but for now, we'll keep her in S tier. Lastly, for the AD carries, let's talk about Vayne and Ashe. Both these champions are confirmed to receive some massive buffs for patch 9.19, so if you want to check those out, then watch our previous video which covers all the planned changes for next patch. For patch 9.18, you should really try to learn these two picks because it's likely that they'll move up one tier within the coming weeks and you don't want to lag behind on the meta. Seriously guys, start practicing them now before everyone catches on next week. Alright, time for the most underappreciated role, supports. The support tier list sees a lot of changes in our mid-patch update. In the S+ tier, we have the usual Pyke, Nautilus, and we welcome a brand new member, Leona. Leona's win rate has been steadily increasing the past few days, and she's finally on the same scale as Nautilus and Pyke. There are only a few picks which can beat her in the meta right now, which are Morgana, Thresh, and Vel'Koz, but the remaining vast majority of supports just get demolished by her aggressive playstyle. A lot of supports are very immobile and squishy, like Sona, Zyra, Lux, Nami, Lulu, and Janna, so it's very easy to pick up some 2v2 kills when you play Leona. Leo works best with an aggressive AD carry like Tristana, Caitlyn, Jinx, and Lucian, so try to find a duo partner and grab some freelo together. Next up is our S tier, where we have Thresh, Morgana, Nami, Bard, Janna, and a new member, Zyra. Zyra's presence in solo queue has been getting better and better as time goes on. The recent buffs made to her ultimate have really helped her out, and she's currently a very high priority pick in the support role. A good Zyra player can easily 1v2 the lane and make the enemy duo's early game a complete nightmare. Her poke is so annoying. She has a ton of damage while also providing a lot of peel. In addition to that, some Zyra mains have been opting to take Aftershock instead of Comment to deal with aggressive engages like Leona and Rakan, so we recommend you try both builds. Next up in the support role, let's cover a few notable A tier picks, which are Blitzcrank and Rakan. Blitz has been doing extremely well in the meta and is super close to making that push to S tier. However, for patch 9.19, Blitz is confirmed to get an insanely big range buff on his Q, and his ultimate is being buffed as well. These changes will likely push him into the S tier, so make sure to keep a mental note of that. I'm sure a lot of players are going to be caught off guard by this sudden range buff, and there will be a lot of first bloods from the enemy team. Moving on to Rakan. He's still a very strong support pick who actually managed to dodge nerfs within the past few weeks. His presence in pro play has been extremely high, and some would argue that he's the bigger issue in the strength of the Xayah plus Rakan duo. He works well with almost any team comp, and he can reliably engage fights while also having tools to keep himself alive and escape sticky situations. Rakan is going to be picked a lot during the World Championships, so get ready to see a brand new Rakan skin. That's it for our mid-patch analysis video for patch 9.18. If you enjoyed watching, then please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button to be notified of our next video. As a reminder, we'll make a video within the next few days to showcase all the upcoming nerfs and buffs next patch, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, make sure to check out ProGuides.com for content made by your favorite pro players. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching till the end, guys, and we'll see you out on the Rift.